Welcome back to the Better Men, Better Ballplayer podcast. I'm your host, Trey Cobb. I want to thank you for joining us on our 129th episode of the podcast. We get a chance to talk to Coach Matt Jones of Shippensburg University. Coach Jones, a friend of mine, I got a chance to know here from our area. This amazing coach, long, successful career as a college coach, first at Elizabethtown. Did great things at Elizabethtown. And then since, I believe for the past 18 years, he's been the head coach at Shippensburg. Won over 400 games at Shippensburg, over 500 total as a head coach. And in 2008, he was the ABCA North Atlantic Region Coach of the Year. He's been a two-time PSAC Coach of the Year. That Pennsylvania State Division II conference is just an incredible baseball conference. Just past year, he was Coach of the Year as well in 2008. They had 2 College World Series appearances. Overall, he's had 5. 10 PSAC Tournament appearances and 4 NCAA Region Tournament appearances. 35 victories in postseason play. He's had 6 guys in the draft, but several others have played professionally, though, undrafted or in an independent league. But overall, he's been in 54 conference tournaments, 21 regionals, 5 World Series. Coach Jones also helps out with the local travel team, and as you hear through the podcast, what we talk about, he just values guys being good people. And we talk more about that, about guys that other people want to be around. And, you know, I will also say, just being very real, being very transparent, audio was not the greatest here for whatever reason, just did not want to cooperate with us. We've tried different things, and it's what it is. It's just not as great. So just bear with us. They're still great, some great information. We just kind of kept rolling. We just talked baseball, and we just had to really stop at a point because we just kept on going throughout the night, and again, really appreciate his time and appreciate all he did for us, and really appreciate our sponsors as well. Netting Pros, netting professionals are improving programs one facility at a time. Netting professionals specialize in the design, fabrication, installation of custom netting for backstops, batting cages, dugouts, scoreboards, BP screens, and ball carts. They also design and install digital graphic wall padding, windscreen, turf protectors, dugout benches, dugout cubbies, and more. Netting professionals continue to provide quality products and services to many recreation, high school, and college fields, facilities, and stadiums throughout the country. Contact them today at 844-620-2707 or info@nettingpros.com. Visit them online at www.nettingpros.com or check out Netting Pros on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for all the latest products and projects. So, thank you, Wall Miner. Thank you, Coach Jones, for working with us. We finally were able to nail down a time, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Coach Matt Jones from Shippensburg University.
I mean, the majority of the guys were the same. We moved a couple pieces around, and you just never know with the portal the way it is. You add a guy, and you think you know what you're getting, and maybe you don't. Or you can come in and you think they're in there for the long haul, but they ultimately just want to get back to Division I. I mean, we've got guys. The guy who's made a bunch of Friday night starts at Kennesaw was at our place last year. A back end guy at Virginia Tech was at our place 2 years ago, and so you just roll with it. Like sometimes it works out really well, and then other times, not as much. So we're trying to navigate and figure out, how to like incorporate the portal and to like what decisions we want to make as far as like how many years do we want a guy to have left if we're going to go all in on him, or are you going to take a 1-year guy, and just really trying to balance it out has been it's a whole new world for coaches and for the kids as well. But like I said earlier, now that I understand travel ball a little bit more, all these new portal rules are kind of like falling right into place, right? Like if you don't like where you're at, you just go get a new hat. And so that part of it is definitely a new piece of the puzzle for an old guy like me.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Just like how you're doing business is that different, especially just with the portal and your new rules.
Yeah, I mean it it's almost like you got to keep recruiting your guys once they're there, and you got to figure
Mhm.
out what their personality is like. Like, can this has this guy been coached? Like what how do you got to handle this guy versus the guy who's next to him versus the guy who's next to him? Like every kid's like, I just want you to be honest with me until you're honest with them, and then they don't like you being honest with them so much, or so you really I hate to say it, but like there's times where like if whether it's my assistant to me or me to my assistant, like, hey man, like you're going at that guy pretty hard. Like we like him. We think he's got a future. He's got a couple years left. We want to make sure that he stays, and where that was just never a thought before. But kids don't view
Yeah.
coaching the way they used to either. Like when I grew up, like my coaches were like almost like your heroes, right? Like you looked up to them, and that has certainly changed, I think. Um, just the way high schools are and travel ball is, the ability to truly lead um, has in some cases been diminished, or it only relates to playing time, versus how much they're actually going to buy into what you're doing. So, yeah, I think we have to almost act like we're recruiting the players that are still on our roster to make sure they stay next year.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty tough. I mean, it's like how how man, how much of adjustment would have been has been for you.
It's
Gosh.
it's changed everything, and because this all came about on the tail end of COVID as well. Like it's been it's been a wild ride the last couple of years, but at the same time, I think there's been opportunities for kids that maybe got stuck somewhere and they were able to find a new home, or for the most part, I think a lot of guys really appreciate a new opportunity, but at the same time, you want to I would rather just recruit high school kids and let them come in as freshmen and develop into men in the program, and like that's the perfect world for sure. Um, and that's what we're trying to do. I think some programs probably are just want to shuffle the deck with transfer guys if they can, but and we're not innocent there. We definitely have some portal guys on our roster, but you know, um, right now we don't have any for next year, so we'll see. Maybe we can, maybe we can, buck the trend here for at least a year.
Do you feel like with all of, like the transfer stuff and guys getting like the eligibility, do you feel like your level, like you feel like it's gotten better? Like you feel like the level has gotten better because like you said, there was a log jam other place they couldn't go somewhere. So like, has it elevated your level?
Um, I probably am going against the grain, and I, I don't think it's, I don't think it's like considerably better. No, I don't. Like we've always had good players, and to be honest with you, we probably had more guys get drafted, before all of this than we're getting now. Now, some of that comes down to the draft as well, but our conference has big leaguers who, under the current draft, you know, standards or guidelines, might not have gotten drafted. So I think that there might be some guys that throw a little harder or have a little more juice, that are here that maybe wouldn't have been before, but at the same time, when it comes down to the games, they were really good before all this, and they still are now. Like I think the PSAC conference tournament is would be a tremendous opportunity for someone to go and see, what baseball looks like at the Division II level, because you go there and there's just dude after dude running out there and playing. So, but yeah, in general, there's are always going to be, a specific circumstance where this guy ended up at a D2 school. He probably shouldn't have been, but in general, I think the baseball was really good before all of this. And, for me, I still feel like the high school kid is like, that's still the best way for this to happen. I do, rather than just moving guys around. But then again, I'm lucky. I'm at a job where if we have a down year, I'm not going to get fired. So I understand why other guys are doing it as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that's really real too, and I was just thinking like, just with the PSAC, can you you talked about the PSAC tournament, can dive into like you said, dude after dude after dude, so you said average good juice now. So what's the average, would you say on average every weekend PSAC it's 90 plus on the mound, guys that, just explain the kind of depth that there is at that PSAC tournament. So I love it. I agree.
Yeah,
I think the PSAC baseball, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you were talking to somebody from Conference Carolinas or the Sunshine State League, like all those guys are going to feel the same way. But when you go out, and so for us, the first round is single elimination. So there's 4 teams from each side, 8 teams total. You go out to Slippery Rock, and the first day, if you lose, you go home. And so you go out there, and so we get Seton Hill game 1, who's arguably one of the hottest teams in the country. And they come out and they're swinging the bats, and they got a guy that's upper 8s, low 9s, and he's filling it up, and they're flying around and making plays. And so it was like game 1 with Stroud and Cal, and on paper that's Stroud all day, but Coach Conti's son. Yeah, I mean, as a dad who coaches, you'll dig this. Like they're 1-1 going to extras, and Mike Conti, the head coach at Cal, his son Peyton plays first base for him, and in extra innings, Peyton hits a home run. And so, I'm standing on the third base line. Mike's in the third base box, and that ball goes over the fence. And as a dad, I'm locked in on Mike. Like, I want to see what Mike's reaction is going to be right now, because he's a tough guy. Coaching forever, he's got this demeanor. And when his son rounded third base, the ball goes over the fence, and I see him struggling because he went from a big smile on his face to oh, I got to button up. And then when Peyton rounded, he turned into a dad. He's like, buddy, good job, way to go. And I was just I thought that was the coolest thing. But so Stroud should beat Cal, but then Cal beats, Cal wins, and then we run into Seton Hill, and then it was Mercyhurst and Westchester, on a day 1 elimination game. Mercyhurst and Westchester, are you kidding me? And so Mercyhurst is up, Westchester comes back, knocks them out, and then the night game is Ville and IUP. So that's a layup, right? Well, guess what? Guess who won? IUP does it. So yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of players in the league right now, with the draft being short, and it's brutal because there's guys. I mean, we faced the Reisinger kid from East Stroud twice this year, and I'm just sitting there going, you got to be kidding me! That kid could definitely be pitching in the ACC tournament this weekend. He's 93, 94 with like a wipeout slider all day long. And you're just like, what are we going to do?
What are you gonna do?
So yeah, the number of players that we're seeing and, that are out there is just, it's wild. It's really good baseball, man. And, I think for people who the technology is so good right now, like for us, if you go on the PSAC digital network, you can watch every game. Like every streams their games. So like, you can get out there and you can see it, and we can recruit people from other areas because the conference has done so well in the draft, and done well on the national level. And then their parents can watch games. Like we had a pitcher from California. Our center fielder this year is from Texas. Our center fielder last year was from North Carolina. So recruiting's different. Like I'm sure back when I was coming out of school, everybody on Shippensburg's roster was from, the 3 or 4 surrounding counties. And now we have Canadian kids and, like I said, West Coast kids and kids from, south of Mason-Dixon. So it's been pretty wild.
Is that just from like you said, technology where people are going, or your ability to also watch video or social media?
Sure. I mean, those guys, we're not necessarily seeing them in person. So the social media aspect of what kids can do for themselves is it's a great opportunity now. And it also shows, initiative and intelligence on their part when they're putting out good content and it's positive. And, if you keep going through their threads and there's no BS or, pictures of, Saturday night or stuff like that. So, it shows some level of responsibility, I suppose, to at least have the wherewithal to not make bad decisions, even if they're or not publicize them anyway. So yeah, I mean, I think that part of it is cool. You can recruit a kid from across the country if you want, and if for some reason they want to go somewhere new or different, that they can too. So it's been pretty cool, but a lot of Zooms and you're meeting the family the way we're talking right now, and sometimes decisions are made without a handshake. So like again, for a guy who's been at it as long as I am, that part of it is still weird to me, but I guess you gotta keep up with the times. So
Yeah, that's what I like. I like that you're just continue to adapt. I mean, that you got to be able to adapt, and that's been the pretty common thread when I get the chance to learn from guys, really good coaches, and they continue to adapt. And so it's hats off to you that you continue to adapt and do that. Like there's a good question. Like I'm wondering, like you said, you got to make decisions over like Zoom and not shaking a hand. Like how have you like what's kind of maybe your tests of like your test or your like how do you gain that trust to think, yeah, this guy's here like through a Zoom without having to meet him?
I mean, sometimes through our players as well. Like we'll talk and try and figure out like, hey, did anybody play summer ball with this guy, or do they know somebody that played with this guy? Or sometimes they're just better at like doing a deep dive into their socials, or they might have an app or something that we don't have. You know what I'm saying? And they'll be like, hey, coach, I checked that guy out, and like he's probably not a good fit, and that's all I need to hear. Like that's all, because my guys want to win and what the locker room is for sure. So you know, and then that shows trust in them as well. But you need to talk to coaches and maybe not the ones that they list as references. So it's like, oh, it's weird. Like he played at this place, but he only gave me, if he played at 2 schools, whether it's a D1 and a JUCO or a college in between, but like why do you want me to talk to this guy? And sometimes I'll call him. I don't like that guy either. That's okay. But sometimes there's a thing.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, that's just good to know. I think the players certainly are some of the best recruiters. So it's a great form of. And I even try to talk to guys like now, like when I'm kind of giving like guys some advice too, like if this is a place you want to go, like why not even reach out to a player and talk about some of those things, even that players will talk about.
100%. They absolutely should. And we try to, like, when we have guys on visits, we always give them time, whether it's at the field, at lunch, hang out in the locker room with the guys where we leave. Like I always make sure that they have an opportunity, both as and so we'll like create a situation, even if we have to like put people in place and pull them out. But like I want I want to recruit and his family to be able to spend at least 10-15 minutes with one or a couple of my players when me and my assistant are not there. Like we're not within earshot, so they can say whatever they want. And then I also want the player by himself, away from his parents, to be able to be around my guys as well. Most of the time, nothing comes up. But when you talk about your players recruiting, so then like the visit will end and I'll be like, hey, how'd it go when you spent time with them? And they'll be like, Coach, all he asked about was, parties or girls or, like he didn't ask any questions about the program, so like, maybe that's not the direction we want to go. So yeah, I mean, I think, but then, again, they have a chance to ask what it's like to, play for us or what it's like to live in Shippensburg or go to school there. So, those questions are all valid too, because I don't want anyone to get, buyer's remorse after they show up. We want them to know what's going on. But yeah, I think that all of those parts of it, and sometimes it has to happen over Zoom or, guys, if they can't get to campus or they're making decisions while they're on the road at summer ball, and they might ask for, to talk to somebody, talk to a player, and we're always down with it. I think it's very important. And the other thing it's too, it's funny when guys are like, they're on campus and they're like, I love it. I want to go here. It's like, did you take any other visits yet? No. All right. Make sure you take 2 more visits and then call me back and tell me you want to come. Like, I still want you to come, but nobody gets married after the first date, man. You got to check out some stuff and make sure that it's right.
That's cool. Nobody gets married at the first date. That's good. How easy was it for this year? Like, were you excited to take them around the facility this year?
Oh my gosh! Like, we've been, I'm appreciative of everything that Shippensburg has done for us, since 2007. But in the last 2 years, we got a new field, a new locker room, new cages. We put in the Aware video system. It's just been like, and it's stuff that needed to happen for sure. But they've stepped up, and we've got some stuff done, and some alum have stepped in and helped out. So having that new field has been. This is our first this fall will be the first class that we recruited, while like the field was there, because the year before, when those kids were getting recruited, there was no field. Like, there wasn't, the old field was gone and the new field wasn't there yet. So at that point, you're a used car salesman, right? You're telling them what they're going to get without any verification. So this year we finally, like, these guys got to visit, see the field, see the locker room, so yeah, recruiting has been, it's never easy, but it was more fun. We definitely had some guys that we feel we ramped it up a little bit, so we're excited for the fall for sure.
Yeah, but I was just thinking it just had to be a little bit more the visits a little bit more energetic on the visits, looking forward to like, oh, you got to come see this, like I can imagine it's beautiful, man. It's awesome.
Well, not to mention
So
like the guys that want to, the tournaments are now calling and they want to be there, and the showcases are calling and they want to be there. So yeah, I mean, if the kid is throwing well at an event that happens to be on our campus, and we can convince him to, take a walk around afterwards. That's a little easier than begging them to come to campus and check it out because they're already there. So it's good.
that will be good. That will be great. So how has like practices changed for you now? Like what has that changed anything with like the new facility? Like, what are some like subtle like changes now you did with the new facility now?
Dude, we haven't been inside for a year. We didn't go inside this year. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, January 10th we're allowed to start practice, and we were inter squad, and like we gave them. I mean, now we started playing for, so we had to, but you give the pitchers and the hitters a schedule and let them know, like, hey, by January 10th you got to be at this point. NCAA
30 pitches, 40 pitches,
check
whatever.
in on them, or they're not allowed to be sending us video or anything like that. So we got to trust them, but you're still like, on January 10th, I want you guys to be able to, get on the bump and throw 20 or 30 pitches. And so we, from that standpoint, we're on the field. And this winter was unbelievable. We only had snow on the ground like for a couple days, and it didn't stick to our field. So that was good. But yeah, so we've been outside. And that's been, you get a lot better practicing on a baseball field than you do in a gym. I don't know if people realize that or not, but your reps are definitely better on a field.
Yeah, I'm sure. Did you feel that? Did you feel like you guys might have opened up better your first 10 games or better? A little more sharper?
Yeah, I mean, we we usually open up at Catawba, and we usually come home 0-3, and we didn't come home 0-3 this year. So I think, the facility and being able to get out and get those reps definitely contributed to that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like what else? Like how else did like the new facility, all turf, like does it change? Did it change a practice? Did it allow you to do different things or use the facility a little differently than you typically would have?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's stuff. Well, for one, like when we built it, I had them put a I had them put an electrical box behind the mound. So, like, we're plugging in machines, so we're rolling like three machines at a time sometimes on the field. Like for defense, you got one going to the outfield, one working with some infielders, and one on the side with the catchers. Um, so, and you don't have to worry about tearing up the grass. So, like your skill work can be um, more defined and more in one place. So, if you've got an infield group working on, a short machine, working backhands over here, you can be in the same spot. And then, you're also, then you got, you're working double plays, your first basemen are working picks. But it's just easier because you don't have to stop and like re-drag the field. You don't have to worry about killing the grass. So it makes it go. I mean, our thing with our guys is, we tell them we want practice to be 90 minutes, no more. So we feel like unless it's an inter squad, you should be able to get done what you need to get done in 90 minutes. And there might be an early group or a late group where you're doing more individual stuff, but as far as the team goes, so we can definitely get a lot more done in that 90 minutes.
Yeah. That's great. I think it's smart to be able to put like the machines back there. I found it to be like there's this new wave of like just using machines and more like where like typically back in the day you got to get your funger, you got to throw it. Like I found that there's definitely a different vibe of like we're using a bunch of machines.
A lot. I mean, the reps, the number of reps, the velo, the breaking balls. I mean, we actually started it. Cash Gladfelder got drafted by the Mariners a couple years ago, and he came back and he was like, "Man," he's like, "Did you guys ever think about just putting the machine on the field for pregame?" And we were like, "On a game day? No, we never thought of that. Like we'll put." Like a lot of times we'll have a breaking ball machine in the cage, but we'll still be throwing on the field. And he's like, yeah, he goes, it was wild because, we always use machines, but never like in that capacity, when I was here at Ship. But then he's like, I get out to the Mariners and they just put the machine right on the field. And, if and where it comes into play, not as much Division II ballparks, but D1 ballparks, they have TrackMan in every stadium. So, you know, depending on what machine you have, like if you have a spin ball, you can replicate that day's starter. You can pretty much replicate his pitches. So
Wow.
if you know what his spin rate is and what his velo range is, and then what direction the ball, if you've ever worked, like we have a spin ball, so we can go with like vertical spin, arm side run, cut, and then if we have the data, we can adjust the spin rate and the velo to be similar to what it's going to be. So if you have reports, there's machines and technology that can, give you a good chance to try and get some of those reps in before the game. I mean, obviously the timing is still, and that's where I think a lot of hitters miss the boat on the value of timing. But as far as seeing it, you can get them there.
Yeah, and I was thinking like here's just the coach be like wanting to do that and like feeling like I think like how do you do that on the road? Like you want to do it, you see so much value in it. Like, are you able to do those things on the road, or is it just something you're going to be able to do just at home?
It depends where you're going. It depends what kind of relationship you have with the other coach. But there's a team in our league that brings a machine with them. I'll tell you that. And at bigger schools, when because for us, we're not coming into town the day before the game, like we're rolling in. So yeah, most of the time when we're on the road, we're throwing BP.
Right.
But the way it's set up in our league is it's home and home. Like we're never just at Stroud. Like if we're there Friday, we're home Saturday. So yeah, you want there to be a home field advantage for sure. You want your guys to win games at home and to feel like when we're at home, you're not going to beat us. So yeah, I guess there's that part of it that for us, we're probably not going to be able to replicate that on the road. But at bigger schools, they come in early and they'll try to set your machines up, or maybe the home team is like messing with the machines a little bit before the other team gets in there. But yeah, I think that. But I mean, that's also why you see a lot of kids that go relatively high in the draft instead of playing rookie ball. They want to go in the SEC because they have experience actually better than a couple levels of pro ball. So
Yeah. Especially just like you said, with the draft being shorter and things like that, and a lot of schools like that, the big ones are going to replicate money too, that they're going to probably have at those lower levels. Mm.
Yeah, some of them are blowing it out of the water. Like you see some players. If when there's players at um, I don't want to say any names or any schools, but like in the one Division I school in our region has a player that is just going bananas. Like he's having an unbelievable year, and he's a sophomore, and he can't get drafted. And I know for a fact, like they're probably worried about like they're like, oh shoot, we better go over to football and ask for some of their NIL money because somebody is gonna offer this kid a lot of money to transfer. So yeah, like that part of it. I never thought college baseball would be that way, but here we are.
Here we are. You're right. Here we are. And it is. It's so very similar, like I said, the travel scene and things like that, where, yeah, and you're recruiting them when they're still there. And imagine what that conversation's like, just trying to keep your sophomore, which I'm sure you're having them. I'm sure you're having them.
Yeah, we had we definitely um I'll just say like the exit meetings at the end of the year are like you as a coach. And I told the guys this like when we were because we had the end of the year was crazy for us, man. Like we went in to the last weekend and we needed to sweep just to stay in the conversation. And then we needed, another school to not win more than one game in their series. And we needed another school to get swept just to get to the conference tournament. Now we played our games we started our series a day before the other ones. So we did our job and then we're just sitting there watching live stats. Right? So it ends up working out. Now I'm watching live stats while Connor's team's playing. So now I'm going from college coach to, you know, watching travel ball. And so I'm like not paying attention, and hopefully I'm paying attention at least when he's hitting, and I'm watching live stats. And so cool, now we're in. So then we go and we put off the exit meetings. Now we go play, and then we lose. So then we come back home, but we're ranked seventh in the region, and 7 teams go to regionals. Um, so now we're actually watching 2 tournaments, the MEC tournament and the PSAC tournament, because we need teams that are already ranked to win both of those tournaments. And if
Yeah.
that happens, then guess what? We get to get on the bus again. So all week long we're like, we just want to get on the bus. We just want to get on the bus. Wherever they send us, whoever we play, we don't care. We just want to get on the bus. And so for the second weekend in a row, everything worked out for us. So but between those two, we actually did. We had meetings. I said I just want to have individual meetings now because I don't know when the season's going to be over. Like we might get bad news this weekend, and I summer ball and do all that. So when you're going into your meetings with these guys, like we have to understand, really does swing both ways right now, you know. And you could be coming in, and I could be sitting down telling you I'm going to renew your scholarship for next year, and you might be like, yeah, that's cool, but I'm not. So when you go into those meetings, and I know in like the middle of my season, our compliance person is like, hey coach, I really need you to turn in your scholarships for next year. And I was like, well, I need to know who's going to be on the team next year before I can renew scholarships. And that's not exactly a conversation I want to have with, 3 or 4 weeks left in the season. Like if
No.
somebody's going to break up with, if somebody's going to break up with you, you don't necessarily want to know ahead of time. Like let's get through the season and let's see what happens. And, this year it was, like I said, that this group was just so much fun to be around, and nobody wanted to leave, and I didn't want anyone to leave. So This year was a lot of fun, but I think as a coach, you have to understand and appreciate that they could make that decision. And it's where back when I played, it was the coach. It was my way. It is not. That is not the current state of affairs. I can tell you that.
No, how and how do you approach that with kids? Because the kids this is the system was created for them. So how are you handling that with the players? Like, is it about the play?
Well, I think in our program, it still is about the program. So you got to put the team first, and you have to respect and appreciate your teammates and the guy that's next to you in the locker room for sure. But you change gears a little bit and get them. It's like, look, man, if you have a great year, we're gonna do well. If you guys all have really good years, and then you just have to try and get to know them and figure out who's going to be a good team guy, who's going to be a good teammate. But you do have to put at some point, maybe it's in a one-on-one conversation and it's not in front of the group, but where you're explaining to them how if they do this or they improve this part of their game, they're gonna get their numbers, but that's gonna help us win games too, and just try to balance it all out. But I think that sometimes coaches, I always hear coaches saying like, "Oh, kids are so different. Kids are so different," and they are. And I think I've alluded to it tonight as well. But like, they're different in really good ways as well. Like, it's not, and it's not their fault, right? Like, you can't
Mm-hmm.
like the environment. You didn't necessarily pick the environment that you were raised in. Like, uh, there wasn't travel ball when I came. Like in the fall, you played football or soccer or golf, and in the winter you wrestled or played basketball, and in the spring you played baseball or ran track. Like these guys, like most of them, just played baseball. At some point, whether they, played multiple sports until they got to high school or what, but so it's not necessarily their fault, their point of view. We do the one thing that we try to explain, and get them to understand and appreciate is like we always tell them like the younger you are, like you got blinders on, man, and like when you first get to college, like those blinders are so narrow, you can only see what's in front of you, and that's all that matters to you. Like that's it, and nothing else matters. So we'll be walking through practice, and there'll be something going on in the world, whether good or bad, or a conflict in Europe or whatever, and I'll be like, hey man, did you see that? Did you watch the news? Did you see that? There's a big storm in Texas, or that's crazy that that city got invaded, or whatever it is, and like it seems like the younger guys are like, what? And I'm like, oh, that didn't hit your feed. That didn't hit your feed today. Like maybe you need to put some news on your social medias, so maybe it'll come across. But because like this is your world, man, like I'm on my way out, like I'm on the downhill now, so like you guys might want to know what's going on. And then like so they're like, here it's like, okay, my playing time and my classes, and then as they get through school, like it gets a little wider and it gets a little wider, and they start to ask questions like, hey coach, how's your family doing, how's Connor playing, or they're talking to their buddies, about like, oh, sorry about whatever happened with your family, and it's cool to see that progress. But man, when they get there from high school, those blinders are pretty tight. And so I think having them creating situations so they can get to know their teammates a little bit better, and start to care about other people's situations is always beneficial, and it always, translates to success on the field, and it has nothing to do with a pitch or a swing or anything else.
How do you facilitate that? Like, what are ways you're doing that within the program?
I mean, just, whether you're moving guys around the locker room, um, setting up different, lifters, or, changing the hitting groups up, and, we try to, whether even if it's like in study hall, like having them not sit with the roommate, or when we go on the road, like they don't stay with their roommates. We try to um, change up the roommate situation, try to create different situations where they're able, hopefully going to interact with each other, where they sit on the bus, um, and then, with me, and Sean Williamson's been my assistant coach for a while now, and he's really tight with the guys, and we certainly have different relationships with the guys. I mean, we're, not the same age. I'll just say that one of us is older, and it's probably me. So yeah, we have different relationships, but then, so guys will tell me stuff that they don't tell him, and they'll tell him stuff that they don't tell me, and so, I think it's good when the guys hear, me or Sean checking up on a guy at practice, like, hey, we talked about this, this or that the other week. Like, how's that going? And it has nothing to do with baseball. And then they'll be like, same thing goes with us and our families, like if Sean's not at practice because, one of his kids had to go to the doctor or something, and, we just tell him. We don't just say, yeah, coach isn't going to be here today. We're like, no, like he took his kid to the doctor, or, me. Um, you know, I I've been through, some health stuff with, myself and my wife, and we've always been open about it. There was a stretch where I wasn't around, because I needed to be with my family, and, we don't hide that. The best thing I can do for my guys is, let them, when Connor's at the field, he's hanging out with the guys, and, and they always ask about him, and so I think the fact that they think I'm a good dad is that's way more important than me knowing, how to teach them how to throw a changeup. You know what I mean? Like I think they appreciate and they love it when he's around. So, if I can, just inspire them to be excited about, their family one day, or to have a, better relationship with their family now, that's all I need, man.
You feel like is that how you've always been, or is that kind of this more of adaptation that you've kind of taken with as things have kind of changed?
Um, n- I don't think it has anything to do with how, like, the coaching landscape has changed. I've always wanted to, certainly. Um, I think, as you grow up, maybe not, the way I always looked at coaches and teammates, like, to me, that was just always the best part of my day. Like, I love being at the field or the weight room, hell, study hall. I didn't care if I was with my team, like, that was it. So as far as how that, like, developed or morphed, like, it certainly always wasn't always there. Like, when I was young and single and coaching, like, I it's hard to even imagine some of the days I've had on the field, and some of the, mistakes I've made as a coach. But, certainly, I would say getting married changed it, and,
Hmm.
being a dad changed it a lot. Like, there's times you want to get into a guy, and then you're just like, you know, I think I can appreciate, uh, the other person's point of view a lot better, especially since getting married on that one.
Yeah.
you know, like, you start to understand, like, Yeah, it's definitely, and then when you have a kid, you're like, it's definitely not my world, and I need to figure out what's going on with this guy before I get, as pissed off as I want to be.
That's a great point. And that's we definitely are changing. But I think also now, like, you do need to be, I would say, almost more real. Like you said, I'm not hiding anything from these guys because that's I feel like that's what the kids need. Like, they're good at recognizing if you're not real.
Yeah, because a lot of what they deal with on a daily basis is not based on reality, right? Like nobody puts ugly pictures of themselves on their IG page. And most of them they're not gonna be like, oh damn, I went 0 for 3 today. But if they hit a home run tomorrow, man, they're gonna clip that off a game changer and put it on there. So, I think that while a lot of them are busy putting this persona out there that they want, individually they understand that there's the ugly side is more real than what they're putting out there. So it seems like they're always a little bit skeptical, right? Like they're always like they get the other side of it. But at the same time, like we've always wanted guys to be real with us, and every coach forever is always like, I have an open door, I'm going to tell you the truth, all that stuff. But like you still have to decide how much of the truth you're going to give a kid, right? Like you could really like a
Hmm.
kid and want him to stay in the program, but you think he's not going to like ever like be a starter, but you still want him
Hmm.
around, So like you're not going to, and you have to get to know him to the point where like, you know, are they going to handle the truth? Like, I'm not saying lie to them, but at the same time, you want to like respect their feelings. Like if a kid is in his junior year, he's going to graduate soon, he's got a girlfriend on campus that he likes. Like it's not like you want to run the kid out of the program, So you've got to handle how much information you give them and how much information do they need. So it's but I would say kids ask really good questions and um, probably ask more direct questions now than they did even 10 years ago. Just based on all the stuff that we just talked about. How much of a perception there is of what they want and where they think they're at.
And even just like how much of like education and how much knowledge there is right now too of of just everything there is out there.
Especially with the pitchers, man. Like it is wild. You got a guy and he's got a pitching coach at home, and there's some guys where they're coachable, and you wanna kind of get them to be getting their information on campus, and then you got other guys that like I mean, there's a pitching coach, down your way, and his guys really like him. So if we recruit one of his guys, we pretty much have to give into the fact that they're going to be sending him videos, and they're going to be getting feedback, and they're going to be telling me or our pitching coach what he thinks. And guys come in, and you gotta if you're a driveline guy, we have these toys for you. If you're an old school guy, we got these toys for you. Weight room, we're going to do this and that. And then, so, from that standpoint, I think a lot of, especially pitchers have, a pitching guy somewhere else. Hitters, man, it's just like, gosh, if we could just take their phones away sometimes, and like guys will come out and they just got like they got a new swing, and I'm like, oh dude, I saw that post last night too. Like, come on, let's not, we don't need a total retool, man. Your timing's just off a little bit. Like you don't gotta completely change it all. Um, it's cool. They keep you on your toes, and You see some good stuff once in a while.
That's such a man. That's such a hats off to you. You know, like there's just different routes you can take there. You know, said like you're 17, you're 18. And goodness, and you're dealing with other pitching coaches telling like, and you're but I think at the end of the day, I think what you've really shown is just how much you're there for the player, and not to understand the player, but you're trying to win, and what it takes to win, and just trying to meld all those things together, man. Like, wow,
I'm
like
really
that's
lucky to be at a place that like my bosses, we usually have a team GPA somewhere between a 3.1 and a 3.3, right? So like my guys do a great job in the classroom. They don't get in trouble, and like I said earlier, like if we make a decision or we go with guy, we stick with our guys because like sometimes as coaches, you go and get a kid because he's a great kid, or you think he's this kind of player, and he's not. I'm fortunate enough that I don't have to make really tough decisions on guys. Like I can stick it out. Look, if I come see you play and I think you're good and you get to campus and I realize in year one that like you're not going to play, but you're an awesome kid and you go to class and maybe you're on the student athlete advisory committee and you're contributing in a positive way. Like, all right, I'm going to ride it out with you. So I'm really lucky to be at a school and have bosses. The people that I work under appreciate the way that I want to run the program. And the way that I want to run the program is like the easiest way I can explain it is we tell our guys we don't have a lot of rules. Our main rule is don't be a jerk. And that just means different things in different situations, right? Like if you're in the calf and somebody gives you food, you say thank you. If you're getting off the bus and the driver goes out and opens up the doors and starts unloading the bags, you say thank you, or you start to help them. You don't just walk away. Like we're just trying to run our program so that our guys just appreciate each other and know how to treat people. And then at the end of the day, sometimes, in 2023 we went to the national tournament. In 2008 and 2013 we went to the World Series. So like sometimes it lines up and it means a lot of wins, but we've had years that we didn't play a single postseason game and we just had a blast and we just really appreciated each other. And we like spending time together. And I mean, at the end of the day, we're all gonna go get a job and raise families. So it's not all about like I know there's some coaches that'll probably cringe, but like it's not always about winning the last game of the year. Like it isn't, and I'm sure there's some schools that, they can't have that relationship or that understanding with their boss. I'm really lucky that I can, and I think they appreciate the way my guys act and handle themselves and who they are when they graduate. So at the end of the day, that's where we're at. Sometimes we go to the postseason, sometimes we don't, but we always live to those standards. So I think like I said before, I want the 90 minutes at practice to be the part of the day that they look forward to the most. And if we're in that battle, then the rest of it just falls into place.
How do you with creating those standards? Don't be a jerk. Like how do you build that into your program?
And,
Is that
that's
just?
like a really simplified. That's a really
I know.
simplified version of it.
Just do the right
You
thing.
can understand that, like in the locker room, like that it might there might be different order or different words on there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it just ultimately it just means like just be a good dude. You know what I mean? Like just be somebody that other people want to be around. Um, it doesn't mean you don't have to be the best player. You don't have to be the smartest kid in the class, but like if somebody needs help, help them. If somebody did something for you, say thank you. Like if somebody's walking by and they say hello, look them in the eye and say hello back. Like that might be that like that interaction just might be the part that makes somebody's day. And, hopefully on our campus, people enjoy interacting with the Raider baseball program, and they think, they get excited when we show up in their space, whether it's, like I said, study hall, cafeteria, practice, weight room, whatever it is. Like our motto, or our on a lot of our like on our gear, on our social media, we just say one more, like one more rep, one more pitch. We just want we do next. We just want to do it well, and just kind of simplify it a little bit, because like again, like we went back to young people and their blinders are here, so that was our way of just like putting it in front of them and just being like, hey, just be present and understand who's around you, and just make that experience for them, whatever it is, just a little bit better. So
Do you do that through your meetings through the fall, like when you first get the teams together? Like, how does this continue to be cultivated? Like, where your people want to be around the baseball team.
well, I think that there's times where you ask guys to go to a meeting or go to an event that's not baseball related, and sometimes, look, and let's be honest, sometimes they roll their eyes at me and like, coach, do we really got to do this? And you're like, yeah, man, like, just go make somebody day. It might be 10 minutes. Like, what's the big deal? And you don't know what you're going to get out of it either. That there's, again, the door swings both ways. So, you never want to miss an opportunity to make a connection, or, you know, um, figure out how you relate to this person or their experience, or, and just be able to ask questions, or hopefully meet somebody that, isn't from your hometown, or, doesn't necessarily view the world the way you do, and just try to, have an understanding of what it is. It's wild, man, because like sometimes we don't even see it coming. Relationships, and it's like, man, those two are really hanging out. Like the people in their hometown would not even believe that those two are as tight as they are, or you know um so a kid from the city and a kid from the country or whatever, like, do they even understand each other? So we're just I and as far as the one more mentality, like, we just try to get them to understand, like, sometimes when you think you're done, you shouldn't be done, you know um so if that's in the classroom, coaches always say good enough isn't good enough, right? Like, you're either or you're not. You're either ready or you're not. So that's where that part of it comes from. And it's easier to quantify about one more pitch, one more run, one more rep in the weight room, like all of that stuff. But I think that my guys understand that, that mentality kind of carries into every day and everything that they're doing.
Awesome, awesome, man. We're getting can't believe it's already after 10. Wow. I was just thinking, like, man, like all these things you have, and I think the adapting, and as you've had this, you continue with your career and you continue to be successful. Like, what do you feel like has got you to this point? Where it isn't all about winning and us winning the last game of the season. There's more to it than that. Like, what's got to this? What's gotten to you to this point? As they say, the consistent message, or what to this point in your career to be this successful, to understanding and having it at that high of a level, and you're at peace with it, man. It's awesome.
I think I value what college is, right? Like, I don't want to manage the Yankees. Like, to me, pro ball that's for somebody else, right? Like, I'm an educator. I work on a college campus, and I recruit kids to a university. In some cases, I help them, help guide them to make a decision of their major or what they're going to do for the rest of their lives. And I think that being a coach is a part of the education process. And the ultimate responsibility of a university is to help guide people into being productive adults. And whatever their own definition of that is. And so that's the part I think that comes into play is understanding that, as coaches, the coaches that I played for, and the role of the coach at that order, and to, tell you what you needed to do. Where even with coaches, as whenever I bring somebody on to my staff, I encourage them to ask more questions than give directives. To even if it's just with a swing fix or something, like, hey man, what are you trying to do? Versus, the hell are you doing? Right? Like, those two things make you feel different, don't they? Like, if you come into the cage and I say, hey man, what are you trying to do today? And I listen to you, I can still tell you what I want to tell you. So I think just the communicating and getting the guys to understand that, like, because at the end of the day, like, it's 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 their career, it's their education, and they're going to live their life. If I can be a part of that, that's awesome, right? And so we explain to them when they come in, like, look, we're going to have different relationships with all of you, okay? Because I've got guys who, they have a mom, a dad, a dog, a brother, and they go home and they can't wait to go home. And then I have guys who, don't have one of their parents, but the other parent is really supportive. And then you got guys who, like, their home life stinks. They want to school all the time. They're asking, what can I stay here in the summer? Can I stay here in the, and so, we have to understand, and we let them know, like, I'm going to be as involved in your experience here as you need me to be, Like, if you just need me to be your baseball coach, I'll be your baseball coach. Like, if you need me to, help you with school, I'll help you with school. If you need me to be, like, step in and be a surrogate dad, I'll do that too. Like, but it's up to you. And then, so that's, that part of it. And that certainly didn't come right away. Like, when E-Town hired a 26-year-old as their head baseball coach, that's not what they got. That guy wanted to win the last game of the year every year. But as it developed, and as I, gained an appreciation for, I think just gaining an appreciation for being a part of the educational process and respecting, what a good experience can mean to these guys is awesome. Like, one of the best days of the year is always Alumni Day, when, guys roll back into town, and, you see them and they're standing there holding their little kid, and they can't wait to, or you get that text like, hey coach, I just finished my master's, or, or we got two guys that we haven't seen for a while, and I was like, dang man, like, what's going on? And they both showed back up during different points of our season, and were, like, apologetic, because one is, in his residency to be an orthopedic surgeon, and the other one, went away to school, and, he's a PA now, and we got another one that's, like, working in the Secret Service on, like, presidential detail, and I'm just like, man, this is crazy. Like,
Wow.
I recruited all you jokers, and I could get you all fired right now, because I know enough about you. But yeah, I mean, just to be a part of that process, it's really humbling. And, like Sean and I always tell him, we'll be there for whatever you need, man. But, like, the ball's in your court, and and you have to learn how to communicate, and you got to understand that it's okay to admit when things are getting a little squirrely, and you need some help. And so when we get there with guys, that's when you can really go. So it's weird because sometimes if you have a bunch of big stuff piling up on your team throughout the year, it's wild, man, because there's sometimes you're like, I'm really not worried about wins and losses. Like, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm worried about this kid and his family, or this situation over here. And so again, I'm really fortunate to be working where I'm working, and have letting people kind of let me do this the way I like to.
Yeah, it's pretty special, man. It's pretty special to have that opportunity. I really like how you said, like, I'll be there as much as they need me here. Like, basically you're meeting the needs of the kids, of the students, and how you do that is all based off what they truly do need. And some people have it. They only need you to be coach. But other people, like you said, they need you to maybe be a surrogate dad, and you got to do that. So that's a great way to put it. I think that's so very real. And I
don't
really,
got to do it.
really
I get
like
to do
that.
it. You know what I mean?
Daggone right.
Yeah.
Daggone right. Oh, that's great, man. Man, that's good. Oh, that's good. Here's a question. So, because you could put this different hat on when you in the travel ball area. So now you go down and you go to travel ball and you're helping. How does that change when it comes down to, like, you're a little younger, you're trying to help out the younger guys and get
well,
them
you
to
swear less,
possibly.
I can tell you that much. you you got to watch your language, and you're not allowed to argue with umpires. I think the biggest impact that, uh, gosh, this is a loaded question. I try to get through to the parents, like that. Try to get through to the parents that a game at Diamond Nation last weekend against, with some kids from Pennsylvania, against some kids from New Jersey, does not matter, like, at all, right? So if you get your kid to go out there and have fun, and look, I'm not perfect. Like, my kid right now, he is, like, pressing so hard at the plate, and I'm like, bud, what's going on? Like, I don't even get mad at you. Like, you stood up there and took strike three right down the middle, your last at bat, and I didn't say a word to you, like, nothing. So, like, where's it coming from? It's like, I just want to be good. But, like, trying to get these guys to understand that, this tournament on this weekend, like, it don't matter. And like, stop putting it on your Facebook page. Like, nobody cares. Like, oh, really? You won the zombie apocalypse? Good job, man. But, like, at some point, they're going to transition from this size field to a big size field, and, like, the kids who are good might be a completely different group of guys. Like,
Yeah.
who is, like, physically mature at 9 years old. Like, the game is going to get harder for him, and then for the kid who's not there yet, but, like, it kicks in when he's 15. Like, how do we know that kid's not going to benefit from the adversity he had early versus the guy who the game was always easy for? So just trying to, like, reel it in, and then when it comes down to tournaments and different opportunities and playing for different teams, like, to me it all goes back to college. Like, my son and his buddies they've been on a lot of different campuses, and I'm fortunate to be able to pick up the phone, and if, like, when they play in the fall, we visited Clemson on the way to Georgia, and then we went over to Georgia, and we you know they've met coaches and toured facilities. Look, I mean, whether any of them are going to be good enough to do that or not is irrelevant. It's the motivation to do. At the end of the day, if you have a chance to get a good education because you can play baseball, then you should take advantage of that. Like, no, we don't ever talk about pro ball. I don't care about pro ball.
Yeah. So, how do you like talking about development? Like, so does it matter just like here's how you're going to get better here for like so like we can play in the postseason because they're going to have to get better.
Oh well, I mean, at Shippensburg we try to balance out. We try to balance out your individual time with the team time, right? So because every kid
Okay.
wants like they want FaceTime with us too. And so, we've been able to do that different ways, whether it's bring them into the office and, like we have a 6 camera system on our field. So like we can record practices and we can bring guys in and like we can watch your swing. And so we have to figure out like who really wants, like if a guy's going good, we're probably just going to leave him alone versus, if a guy's struggling or if a guy asks a lot of questions, then we're probably going to watch more video with him. Some guys are they want to feel it. Other guys that, they need to see it. So we got to figure out how they learn and what they respond to. But yeah, I mean, from a development situation, hopefully we're recruiting good players and then, we're going to try and get them to improve their diet and their sleep habits. What are they putting in their body and are they getting enough rest? And gains usually come in the weight room because even if guys think they lifted in high school, they didn't probably do it the way we're doing it.
Coach Jones just killing it. Great conversation. True baseball guy. Like I said, just a great coach, very successful. Runs a program, team first guy, adapting with the times, very honest and real. Has gotten to the point that it's not win or go home. It's not win or die. There's a lot more to it. Is at a place where the person is more important and has the situation that allows him to do that, where he can then be at his best because he's not pressured into having to do certain things, or he's making decisions based off of what's best for his team. What a great opportunity and a great situation, and he's got himself into. If you haven't seen it, the picture of the new facility, it's great, and they're continuing to play at a high level. It just goes to show that if you don't know the different divisions, you need to educate yourself and understand that that's as good a baseball as there is. It's not the SEC, but that's still very high level baseball, as he alluded to with some of the players and things that he's seeing in the conference tournament. PSAC is great baseball. So, Coach Jones, really appreciate you and all the great, honest, real feedback. Netting Pros, thank you guys. Again, guys, I apologize for the audio. I know it wasn't the best. Coach Jones, we just kept on rolling, and with certain delays and just different things going in and out, and it was just one of these nights that technology just didn't work the best for us. But like we want our players to do, we made adjustments and we didn't complain about it. We just got it done. And it was one of those days. It was more like that rainy day or that 8 a.m. game or that time where you get rung up on a bad call and you just got to suck it up and keep moving and keep putting our best foot forward. So we competed our tails off tonight. I'll tell you that. So I appreciate it, Coach Jones. Appreciate you competing with me and helping us get better. So until next time, keep getting better.